Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty and stared at the view screen. Her hands gripped the metal rail in front of her. What she saw made her stomach feel sick. 12 huge alien ships hung in space above Earth like dark clouds before a storm. Each alien ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. They were black and silver, with strange curves and sharp edges. Blue lights pulsed along their sides like a slow heartbeat. The ships had been there for 6 hours now, just sitting in Earth's orbit and waiting. "Ma'am, we're getting another message from the alien fleet," said Lieutenant Ben Harris from his station. His voice shook a little. Ben was young, maybe 20, and this was his first time seeing real aliens. "Put it on screen," Lisa said. She kept her voice steady, even though her heart was beating fast. The main screen changed from showing the alien ships to showing a creature that looked like a tall lizard walking on 2 legs. It had yellow eyes and sharp teeth. Dark blue scales covered its body. When it spoke, its voice was deep and cold. "I am Ambassador Zextal of the Vortani Empire. I speak for the Galactic Harmony Council," the alien said. "Humans of Earth, you have been judged by the Council. Your species has spread too fast into space. You build too many weapons. You fight too much. This makes you dangerous to the peace of the galaxy." Lisa felt anger rise in her chest. Humans had only been in space for about 60 years. They had colonies on Mars, the Moon, and a few nearby star systems. They were not trying to hurt anyone. "The Council gives you 72 hours, Zextal continued. "You will destroy all your weapons. You will give up all your spaceships. You will stop all space travel. If you do not obey, we will cleanse your planet. This means all humans will die. You have been warned." The screen went black. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Then everyone started talking at once. "Sir, are they serious?" asked Captain Jake Morrison over the radio. Jake was the commander of the research ship UES Discovery. His ship was hiding behind the moon right now. "I think they are very serious, Jake," Lisa said into her headset. "What did your sensors pick up about their ships?" "They're big, Admiral, really big. Each one could probably destroy a whole city. But there's something strange about their energy readings. The patterns look familiar somehow." Before Lisa could ask what Jake meant, another voice came over the radio. It was President Helen Walsh calling from the White House. "Admiral Carter, I need you and General Pete Collins in Washington right away. We're having an emergency meeting." "Yes, Madam President. I'm on my way." Lisa turned to her second in command. "Commander Kelly Price, you have the ship. Keep watching those alien vessels. If they move even a little bit, I want to know right away." "Yes, ma'am," Kelly said. She was a tough woman with short red hair and steady hands. Lisa trusted her completely. 2 hours later, Lisa sat in a big room under the White House. President Walsh was there, along with General Collins and several other important people. The room had no windows and thick metal walls. This was where they made the most secret decisions about protecting Earth. "The aliens have done this before," said Dr. Amy Rodriguez. She was the head scientist at the Titan research station near Saturn. "We've been listening to their radio signals for the past 6 hours. They talk about 17 other species they have cleansed in the past 1,000 years. 17 whole civilizations?" President Walsh asked. She looked pale. "Yes, ma'am. They find species that are growing too fast or getting too strong. Then they destroy them before they can become a real threat." General Collins leaned forward. He was an older man with gray hair and many scars on his hands. "What kind of weapons do they have?" "Plasma cannons, energy shields, and something they call cleansing beams," Amy said. "But here's the strange part. According to our analysis, their technology is actually pretty old. Maybe 500 years behind what we thought was the best in the galaxy." "What does that mean?" the president asked. Amy looked around the room. It means they've been bullying weaker species for so long, they stopped trying to improve. They think no one can fight back against them. Lisa felt a small smile on her face. Are you saying we might have a chance? I'm saying we might have more than a chance, Amy said. If our secret projects have been working like we hoped. The president stood up. General Collins, what's the status of Project Midnight? All systems are ready, ma'am. We've been preparing for something like this for 20 years. Our deep space stations are in position. Our hidden weapons are charged. Our ships are ready. How long do we need? The president asked. Give us 48 hours to get everything in place. Then we can show these aliens what humans can really do. President Walsh nodded. Do it. But remember, the whole world is watching. Billions of people are scared right now. They're looking at those ships in the sky and thinking we can't win. Let them think that, General Collins said. Let the aliens think that too. Sometimes the best weapon is surprise. Back on the Liberty, Lisa watched the alien ships through her telescope. They had not moved since arriving. They just floated there like they owned the space around Earth. Admiral, said Ben Harris. I'm picking up more alien signals. They're talking to each other. What are they saying? It's hard to translate, but I think they're making jokes about humans. One of them said something about weak mammals and easy victory. Lisa's jaw tightened. Keep listening, Ben. Record everything they say. She walked to the big window that showed Earth below. The planet looked so peaceful from up here. Blue oceans, white clouds, and brown and green land. It was hard to believe that in less than 3 days, those alien ships might try to destroy everything. But Lisa had been in the military for 22 years. She had fought pirates in the asteroid belt and rebels on Mars. She knew that sometimes, the enemy who looks strongest is actually the weakest. Sometimes the side that looks like it will lose is the one that wins. She thought about Project Midnight and all the secret preparations. She thought about the hidden weapons and the brave men and women who were getting ready to fight. Most of all, she thought about something her old commander had told her years ago. Never let the enemy know what you can really do until it's too late for them to stop you. The aliens thought they knew everything about humans. They thought humans were weak and scared. In less than 3 days, they would learn how wrong they were. Lisa smiled as she watched the alien ships. They had no idea what was coming for them. Dr. Amy Rodriguez stared at her computer screen and could not believe what she was seeing. She was in her lab on Titan, Saturn's biggest moon. The lab was built inside a huge dome that protected her from the cold space outside. Through the clear walls, she could see Saturn's rings shining in the sunlight. Amy had been studying the alien ships for 18 hours straight. She had not slept or eaten much. Her coffee cup was empty, and her eyes felt tired. But what she found was too important to stop now. Computer, run the analysis again, she said. Analysis complete, the computer said in a calm voice. Alien technology level is approximately 400 to 500 years behind current human. Military specifications. Amy shook her head and laughed. It seemed impossible, but the numbers did not lie. The alien ships that looked so scary were actually using very old technology. Their energy shields, weapons, and engines were all based on ideas that humans had improved on years ago. She picked up her radio. Amy, to Admiral Carter. Are you there? I'm here, Amy. What did you find? Lisa, you're not going to believe this. These aliens are using technology that we threw away 10 years ago. Their plasma cannons are the same type we tested on Mars in 2089. We stopped using them because we found much better weapons. There was silence on the radio for a moment. Then Lisa's voice came back, sounding excited. Are you sure about this? I've checked the data 5 times. Their ships are big and look scary, but they're basically flying museums. The only reason they've been winning fights is because they've been picking on species that never had a chance to develop good weapons. What about their shields? Basic energy barriers. Our new quantum disruptors would cut through them like paper. Lisa, I think we can actually win this fight. While Amy was making her discoveries on Titan, Colonel Danny Brooks was getting ready for the most dangerous mission of his life. Danny was 42 years old and had been a pilot for 20 years. He had flown in battles against pirates and in rescue missions to save people from broken space stations. Now he stood in the hangar of the secret base on the dark side of the moon. In front of him was the UES Phantom, a ship that most people did not know existed. The Phantom was painted black and covered with special materials that made it invisible to most sensors. "Remember, Danny," said Commander Kelly Price over the radio. "You need to get close enough to scan their ships, but not so close that they see you. We need to know everything about their weapons and defenses." "Don't worry, Kelly. I've been flying stealth missions since before these aliens knew Earth existed." Danny climbed into the Phantom's cockpit. The ship was small, built for one person, and speed. It had the best sensors that humans could build and enough fuel to travel around the solar system twice. He started the engines and flew away from the moon base. The Phantom moved through space like a shadow, silent and invisible. As Danny got closer to the alien fleet, he turned on his recording equipment. What he saw through his telescope made him angry. The alien ships were arranged in a pattern that showed they thought they had already won. They were not watching for attacks. They were not even trying to hide from human sensors. They just sat there like they owned Earth. "Phantom 2, base," Danny whispered into his radio. "I'm in position. Starting detailed scans now." For 2 hours, Danny flew around the alien fleet. His sensors recorded everything about their ships. He learned about their weapons, their shields, their engines, and their communication systems. What he found matched what Amy had discovered on Titan. "These ships are jokes," he said to himself. "They look tough, but they're actually weak. Any one of our new destroyers could probably take on 3 of them." But the most important thing Danny discovered was how the aliens thought. By listening to their radio signals, he learned that they had done this same thing many times before. They would show up at a planet, make threats, and watch the people give up without fighting. They've never actually had to fight a real war, Danny realized. They just scare people into surrendering. The aliens talked about humans like they were talking about children. They made jokes about how weak and stupid humans were. They even had bets about how fast humans would give up. Danny's anger grew as he listened. These creatures thought they could just show up and take over Earth because they had done it to other worlds. They had no idea that humans were different. Meanwhile, on the lunar base, Commander Kelly Price was coordinating the biggest secret operation in human history. The base was built inside an old crater and covered with fake rocks so satellites could not see it. Inside, hundreds of people worked day and night to get ready for the fight. Kelly stood in the main control room and watched dozens of screens. Each screen showed a different part of the human defense network. There were hidden weapons platforms floating in space disguised as asteroids. There were battleships pretending to be cargo vessels. There were fighter squadrons ready to launch from secret bases on Mars, Europa, and Ganymede. "Status report," Kelly said to her team. "All midnight platforms are online and ready," said Captain Tony Garcia. Tony was in charge of the hidden weapons scattered throughout the solar system. "We have 47 plasma cannon stations, 32 missile platforms, and 12 railgun batteries. All of them are invisible to alien sensors." "What about our ships?" Kelly asked. 218 vessels are standing by," said Major Rachel Davis. "The aliens think we only have 50 ships, but most of our fleet is hiding behind planets and moons. We've also disguised our best warships to look like civilian craft." Kelly nodded. This was the plan they had been working on for 20 years. Ever since humans first detected alien radio signals, smart people had known this day might come. They had prepared in secret, building weapons and ships that no one talked about in public. "Kelly," came Amy's voice over the radio. "I just finished analyzing the data from Danny's mission. You're going to love this." "What did you find?" "The aliens have a fatal flaw in their formation. They're arranged to look scary, not to fight effectively. If we attack from 3 directions at once, they won't be able to protect each other. Their own ships will be in the way." Kelly smiled. "How long would it take to destroy their whole fleet? If we do it right, maybe 10 minutes. 15 at the most." The plan was working perfectly. The aliens thought they were dealing with a weak species that would surrender without a fight. They had no idea that humans had been watching the galaxy and learning about alien technology for decades. They did not know about the secret weapons or the hidden fleet. Most importantly, they did not understand humans at all. They thought fear would make humans give up, but fear had always made humans fight harder. Back on the UES Liberty, Admiral Lisa Carter received reports from all over the solar system. Everything was going according to plan. The alien fleet had not moved from their position above Earth. They were still making jokes about humans and planning their easy victory. "Ma'am," said Lieutenant Ben Harris, "I just intercepted another alien message. They're talking about which human cities they want to destroy first. They think it will be fun to watch humans run away." Lisa's face went hard. "Keep recording, Ben. When this is over, I want the whole galaxy to hear what these creatures really think about peace and harmony." She looked at the countdown clock on her wall. 54 hours until the alien deadline. But the real countdown had already started. In less than 2 days, the Galactic Harmony Council would learn that some species fight back, and when humans fight back, they fight to win. President Helen Walsh stood in the Oval Office and looked out the window at the sky. Even in daylight, she could see the alien ships hanging above Earth like dark spots against the blue. In just 6 hours, the 72-hour deadline would be over. Every television station in the world was showing the same thing. Millions of people stood in streets and parks, looking up at the alien fleet. Some people were crying. Some were praying. Many were just scared and waiting to see what would happen. Helen had been president for 3 years, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. She was about to make the most important speech in human history. What she said in the next few minutes would decide if humanity lived or died. General Pete Collins stood beside her. "Madam President, all our forces are in position. Admiral Carter confirms that Project Midnight is ready to launch." "How many people know the truth about our real military strength?" Helen asked. "Less than 1,000 worldwide. Everyone else thinks we're really surrendering." Helen nodded. This was the hardest part of the plan. To fool the aliens, they had to fool their own people too. Only a few military leaders and scientists knew that Earth had secret defenses. Everyone else believed that humanity was helpless against the alien threat. "It's time," Helen said. She walked to her desk and sat down in front of the camera. The red light came on, which meant billions of people around the world were watching. Helen took a deep breath and began to speak. "My fellow humans, both on Earth and in our colonies throughout the solar system, today we face the greatest challenge in our history. The Galactic Harmony Council has given us an ultimatum. They demand that we give up our weapons, our ships, and our freedom." Helen paused and looked directly into the camera. "After consulting with our military leaders and our allies, I have made a decision to save human lives and prevent the destruction of our world. Earth will surrender to the Galactic Council." The words felt like poison in her mouth, but she continued. "Effective immediately, all human military forces will stand down. We will destroy our weapons as requested. We will submit to galactic authority." Around the world, people watching the speech began to cry and shout. Some were angry that their leaders were giving up. Others were relieved that the fighting might be avoided. None of them knew this was all part of a larger plan. On his ship, high above Earth, Ambassador Zextal watched the human president's speech and felt very pleased with himself. The reptilian alien turned to his officers and made a sound that was like laughing. "See how easy it is?" he said to his crew. "These mammals always surrender when they see real power. Add Earth to our list of conquered worlds. Should we send down our occupation forces now?" asked one of his officers. "Not yet," Zextal said. "First we move our ships closer to their planet. I want to see the fear in their eyes when we land. Then we will decide which cities to destroy as examples to the others." This was exactly what the humans had hoped for. The alien fleet began to move from their high orbit down toward Earth. As they got closer, they flew directly into the trap that had been waiting for them. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the command chair of the U.S. Discovery and watched his sensors carefully. His ship looked like a simple research vessel, but hidden under fake panels were some of the most powerful weapons humans had ever built. "They're taking the bait," Jake said to his crew. "All ships. This is Discovery. The fish are swimming into the net." Around the solar system, hundreds of other ships received Jake's message. Many of them looked like cargo vessels, mining ships, or scientific research craft. But all of them were actually warships in disguise. The UES Liberty looked like a passenger ship carrying tourists. The US Freedom appeared to be a cargo hauler full of supplies from Mars. The US Justice seemed to be a simple police patrol boat. But each ship was actually a powerful destroyer with enough firepower to level a city. Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker sat in the cockpit of his fighter and waited for the signal to attack. Steve was 28 years old and had been chosen to lead the first wave because he was the best pilot in the human fleet. His ship was called the EU's Wasp, and it was unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. The Wasp was small and fast, with experimental quantum weapons that could punch through any known shield. Steve had been training for this mission for 2 years. "Wasp leader to all fighters," Steve said into his radio. "Remember, we get one chance. At surprise. Make it count." Behind him, 49 other fighters waited in the shadows of Earth's moon. Each pilot was young, brave, and ready to show the galaxy what humans could do when they fought back. As the alien ships moved closer to Earth, they spread out into what they thought was an attack formation. But Dr. Amy Rodriguez had been right about their weakness. The aliens were arranged to look scary, not to fight effectively. Their own ships blocked each other's weapons and created blind spots that human fighters could exploit. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the Liberty and watched the alien fleet approach. She had been waiting for this moment her entire career. Now it was time to show these creatures that humans were not afraid. "All ships. This is Admiral Carter," she said into her radio. "Operation Midnight is now active. Remember, we are not just fighting for Earth. We are fighting for every species these aliens have destroyed. We are fighting for the future of the galaxy." The alien ships were now close enough to see Earth's continents clearly. Ambassador Zextal was already planning which human cities would be destroyed first. He thought about how the other council members would praise him for another easy victory. "Sir," said one of his officers, "I'm detecting some unusual energy readings from the human ships." "What kind of readings?" Zextal asked, but he was not really worried. Humans were primitives. They could not possibly have weapons that could threaten the mighty Galactic Council. "The energy signatures are very strong, sir. Much stronger than our intelligence report suggested." Zextal waved a clawed hand. "Impossible. Our scans showed that human technology is centuries behind ours. They are probably just powering up their engines to run away." But the officer was right to be worried. All over the solar system, human weapons that had been hidden for years were suddenly coming online. Plasma cannons disguised as asteroids were charging their batteries. Railguns hidden behind planets were loading their ammunition. Fighter squadrons were starting their engines. Commander Kelly. Price sat in the secret lunar base and watched her screens show green lights everywhere. Every weapon, every ship, every soldier was ready. All stations report ready, she announced. Countdown to attack begins now. 10 seconds. The alien ships continued to move closer to Earth, unaware that death was about to fall on them from every direction. 5 seconds, Kelly said. Ambassador Zextal looked down at Earth and smiled his reptilian smile. Soon this beautiful planet would belong to the Council, just like so many others. 3 seconds. Around the galaxy, 17 dead civilizations waited in the darkness for justice. 2 seconds. Humanity held its breath. 1 second. The trap was ready to spring. Execute Operation Midnight. The war began. The first shots came from everywhere at once. Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker dove his fighter toward the alien flagship like a bullet made of light and metal. The EOS Wasp moved so fast that the alien sensors could not track it properly. Steve's targeting computer locked onto the huge ship's shield generators. Wasp 1, firing quantum disruptors. Steve said into his radio. 2, beams of pure energy shot from his fighter and hit the alien ship's shields. The beams cut through the energy barrier like a hot knife through butter. The shields that had protected Council ships for 1,000 years simply vanished. Direct hit, Steve shouted. Their shields are down. All around him, 49 other fighters opened fire at the same time. Quantum disruptors, plasma cannons, and antimatter missiles filled the space around the alien fleet. The Council ships, which had seemed so powerful just moments before, were suddenly helpless. Ambassador Zextal stared at his control screens in shock. Alarms were ringing throughout his ship. Half of his systems were already damaged or destroyed. How is this possible? He screamed at his officers. These are primitive mammals. They should not have weapons like this. Sir, our shields are failing on all ships, one officer reported. The human weapons are cutting through our defenses, like they don't exist. Return fire. Destroy them all. But it was too late. The human attack had been planned perfectly. The alien ships were surrounded and outnumbered. Worse, they were using old tactics against an enemy that had studied their every weakness. Major Rachel Davis sat in her command center deep underground on Earth and coordinated the ground-based attacks. In front of her, dozens of screens showed particle beam weapons coming online all around the planet. All ground stations. This is command. Begin firing sequence, Rachel said. Hidden installations that had been disguised as mountains, buildings, and even farms suddenly revealed massive energy cannons. Beams of concentrated particles shot up from Earth's surface and struck the alien ships from below. The aliens had expected human weapons to come from space, not from the planet itself. They had positioned their ships to defend against attacks, from above and from the sides. They never thought to protect themselves from below. Target the command ship first, Rachel ordered. Take out their leadership. 6 particle beams focused on Ambassador Zextal's flagship. The combined energy was enough to power a small city. When the beams hit the alien ship, entire sections simply evaporated. Captain Tony Garcia led his bomber squadron in an attack on the alien fleet's left flank. Tony was flying the UES Thunder, a ship designed to carry the most destructive weapons humanity had ever built. Thunder Squadron, arm antimatter warheads, Tony said. We're going to show these aliens what real firepower looks like. Antimatter was the most dangerous substance in the universe. When it touched normal matter, both were completely destroyed and turned into pure energy. One small antimatter bomb could destroy an entire city. Tony's bombers carried dozens of them. Bombs, away, Tony shouted. 12 antimatter warheads streaked toward the largest alien ships. The aliens tried to shoot them down, but their old-fashioned laser weapons could not stop the advanced human missiles. The first explosion lit up space like a new sun. When the light faded, an alien ship that had been 3 kilometers long was simply gone. Nothing was left but scattered pieces of metal drifting in space. Direct hit on Target 1, Tony reported. Moving to Target 2. Dr. Amy Rodriguez watched the battle from her laboratory on Titan and felt proud of her predictions. Everything was happening exactly as she had calculated. The alien technology was no match for human weapons. "Computer, show me the battle analysis," Amy said. "Human forces have destroyed or disabled 73% of the alien fleet," the computer reported. "Estimated time to complete victory, 7 minutes. 7 minutes. The Great Galactic Harmony Council, which had terrorized the galaxy for 1,000 years, would be completely defeated in less time than it took to eat breakfast. Commander Kelly Price activated the hidden weapons platforms scattered throughout the solar system. These were the secret weapons of Project Midnight, disguised as asteroids and space debris. "All Midnight platforms, open fire," Kelly commanded. Suddenly, rocks that had been floating peacefully in space opened up to reveal massive railguns. These weapons used magnetic fields to fire metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The projectiles moved so fast that they could punch through almost anything. 100 railgun rounds hit the alien fleet at the same time. Each projectile carried the energy of a nuclear bomb. Ships that had survived the fighters and bombers were torn apart by the railgun barrage. "Platform 7 reports kill on enemy cruiser," came a voice over Kelly's radio. "Platform 12 confirms destruction of enemy destroyer. Platform 25 has eliminated 2 enemy fighters." The reports kept coming. Every few seconds, another alien ship was destroyed or disabled. The Council fleet was being systematically annihilated. On his damaged flagship, Ambassador Zack could not believe what was happening. His proud fleet was being destroyed by creatures he had thought were primitives. How had the Council's intelligence been so wrong? "Sir, we're receiving surrender offers from the human fleet," one of his surviving officers reported. "Surrender," Zexthal snarled. "We do not surrender to animals." "Sir, perhaps we should consider—" "No. Fire the cleansing beams. Destroy their planet. If we cannot have it, no one can." But when Zexthal tried to fire his ship's most powerful weapons, nothing happened. The human attack had been so precise that they had disabled the alien weapons without destroying the ships completely. The aliens could not fight back, and they could not escape. Admiral Lisa Carter watched the battle from the Bridge of the Liberty and felt satisfaction deep in her chest. For 20 years, she had prepared for this moment. Every training exercise, every weapons test, every strategic planning session had led to this. "Admiral, the alien flagship is trying to retreat," reported Lieutenant Ben Harris. "Not today," Lisa said. "All ships, pursue and capture. I want Ambassador Zexthal alive. The galaxy needs to see what happens to bullies." The human fleet moved to surround the few surviving alien ships. The creatures who had come to conquer Earth were now trapped and helpless. Captain Jake Morrison's Discovery moved alongside Zextal's damaged flagship. Jake could see the alien through the broken windows of his ship's bridge. "This is Captain Morrison of the United Earth ship Discovery," Jake said over the radio. "Ambassador Zextu, you are ordered to surrender immediately. Your fleet is defeated. Your weapons are disabled. Surrender now, and your crew will be treated according to the laws of war." For a long moment, there was silence. Then Zextal's voice came over the radio, full of hate and disbelief. "This is impossible," the alien said. "We are the Galactic Harmony Council. We have ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. You cannot defeat us. You are just primitives." "We were primitives," Jake replied calmly. "Yesterday, today, we are the species that just destroyed your entire fleet in 11 minutes. Tomorrow, we will be the species that liberates every world you have enslaved." The battle was over. Of the 12 massive ships that had threatened Earth, 8 were completely destroyed. 3 were disabled and drifting in space. Only Zex's flagship was still somewhat functional, and it was surrounded by 50 human warships. The Great Galactic Harmony Council had lasted for 1,000 years. Their defeat had taken 11 minutes. But this was only the beginning. Around the galaxy, other species were already receiving news of the battle. For the first time in centuries, the Council had been defeated. For the first time in centuries, there was hope, and humanity was just getting started. 3 weeks after the battle, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Discovery and looked out at a sight that still amazed him. Ships from 20 different species floated in space around Earth. They had come from all over the galaxy to see the planet that had defeated the Galactic Harmony Council. The ships were all different shapes and sizes. Some looked like giant flowers made of metal. Others were long and thin like needles. A few were so strange that Jake could not figure out which end was the front. But they all had one thing in common. They were all here to thank humanity for setting them free. "Captain, we're receiving another message from the Zentari delegation," said Lieutenant Ben Harris. Ben had been promoted after the battle and was now Jake's communications officer. "Put them through," Jake said. The screen showed a creature that looked like a tall bird with blue feathers and 4 arms. When it spoke, its voice was musical and beautiful. "Captain Morrison, I am Ambassador Kellic of the Zentari Republic. My people have been slaves of the Council for 300 years. We want to join your alliance and help fight for freedom." This was the same message Jake had been hearing for weeks. All across the galaxy, species that had been conquered by the Council were rising up against their oppressors. They wanted to join the new alliance that Earth was building. "Welcome to the Free Worlds Alliance, Ambassador Kellic," Jake said. "We're honored to have the Zentari as our friends." On Earth, President Helen Walsh sat in a much larger meeting room than before. Around the table were representatives from dozens of species. Some breathed oxygen like humans. Others needed special suits to survive in Earth's atmosphere. All of them were working together to build a better galaxy. "The Council's empire is collapsing faster than we expected," reported General Pete Collins. 17 systems have declared independence this week alone. Most of their military commanders are surrendering without a fight. "What about the core Council worlds?" Helen asked. "The Vortani home planet has asked for peace negotiations. The Klaxon Empire wants to join our alliance. Even the hegemony is talking about giving up their conquered territories." Helen shook her head in amazement. 3 weeks ago, these same species had been the most feared powers in the galaxy. Now they were begging to make peace with the primitive humans they had tried to destroy. Dr. Amy Rodriguez had become one of the most important people on Earth. Every day, delegations from other species came to her laboratory to learn about human technology. What they discovered amazed them. "Your quantum disruptors are 500 years ahead of anything we have," said Dr. Vex, a scientist from the Altarian Collective. Dr. Vex looked like a large insect with compound eyes and 6 arms. "How did you develop such advanced weapons so quickly?" Amy smiled. "We had good teachers. For 50 years, we've been listening to radio signals from across the galaxy. We learned about your technology, your history, and your wars. Then we figured out how to do it better." "But how did you keep it secret?" "The Council had spies everywhere." "That's the thing about being underestimated," Amy said. "Nobody bothers to spy on primitives. The Council thought we were so far behind that we could never catch up. They never imagined we were already ahead." This was the truth that was shocking the galaxy. Humans had not just defeated the Council through luck or surprise. They had defeated them through superior technology, better strategy, and careful planning. The primitive species had outthought and outfought the greatest military power in galactic history. Admiral Lisa Carter was now in charge of the largest fleet in the galaxy. Ships from dozens of species had joined the human fleet to hunt down the remaining Council forces. but most of the fighting was already over. "Admiral, we've received surrender messages from the last 3 Council strongholds," reported Commander Kelly Price. "They're offering to give up all their conquered territories in exchange for mercy." "And what does Earth's government want to do?" Lisa asked. "President Walsh says we should accept their surrender, but with conditions. They have to free all their slaves, return all stolen property, and submit to trials for their war crimes." Lisa nodded. This seemed fair. Humanity had not fought this war for revenge. They had fought it to stop the Council from hurting anyone else. The real work was just beginning. Building a new galactic government would be much harder than destroying the old one. But humanity was ready for the challenge. Colonel Danny Brooks was now leading diplomatic missions to former Council worlds. His job was to help enslaved species set up their own governments and join the Free Worlds Alliance. On the planet Nexus Prime, Danny met with a group of creatures that looked like walking trees. They had been slaves for so long that they had forgotten how to make their own decisions. "We don't understand," said their leader, whose name was Rootsinger. "You defeated our masters, but you don't want to become our new masters." "This makes no sense." Danny sat down on a chair made from living wood and tried to explain. "We don't want to rule anyone. We want every species to be free to choose their own path. If you want to join our alliance, great. If you want to be independent, that's fine too. The choice is yours." Rootsinger's wooden face showed confusion. "But who will tell us what to do? Who will make the hard decisions?" "You will," Danny said. "That's what freedom means. It means making your own choices, even if they're hard ones." This conversation was happening on hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were learning what it meant to be free. It was not always easy, but it was always worth it. The biggest surprise came when Admiral Carter interrogated Ambassador Zexthal in his prison cell on Luna. The reptilian alien had been very quiet since his capture, but now he wanted to talk. "You have doomed the galaxy," Zexthal said, his yellow eyes full of anger. "The Council kept the peace for 1,000 years. Without us, there will be chaos and war." "You didn't keep peace," Lisa replied. "You kept fear. There's a difference. The weak species needed our guidance. Without strong leadership, they will destroy themselves." Lisa leaned forward. "That's their choice to make. Freedom means the right to succeed or fail on your own. You took that choice away from them, and what happens when a new threat comes from outside the galaxy? What happens when the real enemies arrive? You have destroyed the only force that could protect everyone." Lisa stood up to leave. "Then we'll deal with those threats when they come, together, as free species working as equals, not as slaves following orders." As she walked away, Zexthal called after her, "You will regret this, human. You will wish you had left the galaxy under Council rule." But Lisa was not worried about regrets. She had seen what humans could accomplish when they worked together. She had seen what the galaxy could become when every species was free to contribute their best ideas and abilities. 6 months after the battle, President Walsh gave a speech to the First Galactic Congress. Representatives from over 200 species had come to Earth to sign the charter for the Free Worlds Alliance. "Today, we begin a new chapter in galactic history," Helen said. "Not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals working together. Not as a hierarchy with the strong ruling the weak, but as a community where every voice matters." The applause that followed came from creatures with vocal cords. Creatures that clicked their claws, creatures that flashed lights, and creatures that communicated through smell. But they were all expressing the same emotion, hope. Dr. Amy Rodriguez stood at the back of the hall and smiled. In her hand was a datapad showing the latest reports from around the galaxy. Former Council worlds were sharing their technology freely. New trade routes were opening between species that had never been allowed to meet before. Scientific discoveries were happening at an incredible rate as thousands of different cultures shared their knowledge. The galaxy was becoming a better place. That night, as Earth's sun set over the ocean, Admiral Carter stood on the beach near her home and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, former slaves were learning to read, former enemies were becoming friends, former prisoners were breathing free air for the first time in centuries. The Galactic Harmony Council had ruled through fear for 1,000 years. Their reign had ended in 11 minutes. But building something better would take much longer. Humanity was ready for the challenge. They had learned that the most important victory was not defeating your enemies, but turning them into friends. They had learned that the strongest weapon was not a gun or a bomb, but an idea. The idea that everyone deserved to be free, and that idea was spreading across the galaxy like wildfire, carried by species that had almost forgotten what freedom meant. The Council had tried to destroy it, but you cannot kill an idea whose time has come. The age of fear was over. The age of freedom had begun, and it all started with one simple truth. Never underestimate a species that fights for something bigger than itself.